is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered his cabinet to open direct negotiations with the Lebanese government. Despite the diplomatic move, Israel is maintaining a no ceasefire policy following the deadliest strikes in decades. President Miguel Diaz-Canel has blasted the U.S. energy blockade as collective punishment during a UN conference. He warned that while Russian fuel is a lifeline, Cuba's healthcare system remains under severe siege. Melania Trump has strongly denied any connection to Jeffrey Epstein, labeling recent allegations as false and defamatory. The statement comes as the former First Lady vows to defend her reputation against unfounded claims. The head of the International Monetary Fund is urging global governments to cushion the economic fallout from the Middle East war. Surging energy prices and supply disruptions continue to ripple through the global economy. President Vladimir Putin has announced a unilateral ceasefire with Ukraine for Orthodox Easter. The truce is set to begin Saturday afternoon, though the Kremlin awaits a formal response from Kyiv. And in showbiz, Manon Bannerman will not join Cat's Eye for their highly anticipated Coachella debut. Management confirmed the singer remains on hiatus, leaving the group to perform as a 5-piece unit. I'm Andrea Santos. Newsline World starts now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has instructed his cabinet to open direct negotiations with the Lebanese government, even as he maintains a no ceasefire policy on the northern front following the deadliest strikes in decades. Carlo de la Peña has the details.
The smoke from Wednesday's record-breaking bombardment had not yet cleared when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a surprise diplomatic pivot. On Thursday, Netanyahu announced he had ordered his cabinet to engage with Beirut as soon as possible. He framed the move as a response to repeated requests from the Lebanese government, setting two non-negotiable goals: the total disbarment of Hezbollah and a sustainable historic peace agreement. However, the olive branch is wrapped in thorns. Netanyahu explicitly doubled down on continued military action, declaring there is no ceasefire in Lebanon and that the finger remains on the trigger until the northern border is secured.
לאחר פניות חוזרות ונשנות של ממשלת לבנון לפתוח איתנו במשא ומתן לשלום, אני הנחיתי אמש בקבינט לפתוח במשא ומתן ישיר עם לבנון כדי להשיג שני יעדים. אחד, פירוק חיזבאללה מנשקו, והשני, הסכם שלום היסטורי בר קיימא בין ישראל ללבנון.
In Beirut, the mood is one of the mourning and defiance. Following a cabinet session on Thursday, Prime Minister Nawaf Salam announced an urgent complaint to the UN Security Council over the dangerous escalation that killed over 300 people, the highest single-day toll since the end of the civil war in 1990. The Lebanese government is now forcefully demanding to be included in the 2-week US-Iran truce. Information Minister Paul Morkos emphasized that Lebanon will not allow any outside party to negotiate on its behalf, asserting the state's sole authority to handle its national security.
ويأتي هذا التصعيد الخطير بمواجهة كل المساعي الدولية والإقليمية لوقف الحرب في المنطقة، ويضرب عرض الحائط مبادئ القانون الدولي والقانون الدولي الإنساني، بل يتمادى في خرقها. القرار الثاني، سندا لوثيقة الوفاق الوطني المعروفة باتفاق الطائف وقرارات مجلس الوزراء ذات الصلة، وحفاظا على سلامة المواطنين وأمنهم وممتلكاتهم، يطلب إلى الجيش والقوى الأمنية المباشرة فورا بتعزيز بسط سيطرة الدولة الكاملة على محافظة بيروت وحصر السلاح فيها بالقوى الشرعية وحدها.
The irony of the moment is sharp, as the Lebanese army is ordered to take full control of Beirut and restrict unauthorized weapons. Israeli jets continue to hunt Hezbollah targets across the country. As high-level US and Iranian delegations arrived in Islamabad today for peace talks, the Lebanese gap in the ceasefire remains the most volatile variable in the region. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, Iran's new supreme leader is claiming victory in the war against the United States and Israel as Tehran signals a new phase in its control over the Strait of Hormuz. This even as a two-week ceasefire between Washington and Tehran remains in effect. Jane Kudnita reports.
Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei made the declaration in a message carried by Iranian state media, marking the 40th day since the death of his father and predecessor, Ali Khamenei, who was killed in U.S.-Israeli strikes at the start of the conflict. The younger Khamenei was selected as Iran's new supreme leader on March 8. Khamenei vowed to take the management of the Strait of Hormuz to a new stage. He said Iran has not sought war and will never give up what he called its legitimate rights, and that the country considers the entire resistance front as one cohesive whole. Khamenei also called on Iran's southern neighbors to, quote, stand in the right place, unquote, saying Tehran is still waiting for an appropriate response as a sign of brotherhood and goodwill. He described the assassination of his father as one of the biggest crimes committed by Iran's enemies and one of the most severe public sorrows in the country's history. Mojtaba Khamenei added that the Iranian people will demand compensation for every damage caused by what he called the aggressors' attacks. Meanwhile, Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Kalibaf issued a separate statement warning that negotiations will only be considered if the United States stops violating the ceasefire agreement. Kalibaf said the Iranian people and military are prepared to resume the conflict if necessary, but stressed that Iran sees military and diplomatic efforts as inseparable in its pursuit of what he called ultimate victory. The ceasefire between Washington and Tehran took effect on Wednesday, with peace talks between the two sides scheduled to begin later this week in Islamabad, Pakistan. This has been Jane Kudnita, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
The head of the International Monetary Fund is sounding the alarm, urging world governments to act in concert to cushion the economic fallout from the Middle East war, as surging energy prices and supply disruptions continue to ripple across the global economy. Hannah Jane Sancho reports.
Speaking at the opening of the 2026 IMF Spring Meetings, Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva delivered a stark warning and a direct appeal to world leaders. In a speech titled Cushioning the Middle East War Shock, she urged all nations to reject unilateral measures.
So I appeal to all countries to reject go-it-alone actions, export controls, price controls, and so on, that can further upset global conditions.
Georgieva laid out a three-part prescription for governments navigating the crisis. Fiscal authorities, she said, should provide targeted and temporary support to the most vulnerable without losing sight of medium-term fiscal discipline. Central banks, meanwhile, should be prepared to move firmly on interest rates if inflation expectations begin to break loose and risk triggering a damaging price spiral.
All countries must deploy their fiscal resources responsibly and must move decisively to rebuilding fiscal space after this shock. And I cannot emphasize this enough.
The numbers behind the warning are striking. Since the outbreak of the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran on February 28, global daily oil supply has fallen by roughly 13%, while liquefied natural gas supply has dropped by approximately 20%, according to IMF data. Brent crude briefly surged from $72 per barrel before the conflict to a peak of $120. Prices have since eased but remain energy costs rising sharply for nations worldwide. Georgieva also pledged the IMF's direct support, saying the fund stands ready to provide balance of payments, financing to member nations through what she called the fog of uncertainty. She projected near-term demand for IMF emergency support could reach anywhere between 20 billion and 50 billion US dollars, a reflection of how far the war's economic shockwaves have already spread.
So, yes, our 191 member countries can count on us to support them with financing if needed. And they can count on us to bring them together to find a path forward through the fog of uncertainty. This is what next week will be about.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced a unilateral ceasefire with Ukraine to take effect from Saturday afternoon through the end of Orthodox Easter Sunday. The Kremlin says it expects Kiev to follow suit. Angie De Leon has the details.
The Kremlin announced that President Vladimir Putin, in his capacity as Supreme Commander-in-Chief of Russia's armed forces, has ordered a halt to all combat operations along every front from 4 p.m. on April 11th through the end of the day, April 12th. Defense Minister Andrei Belousov and Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov have been instructed to implement all ceasefire across all active fronts, while ordering its own troops to stand down. The Kremlin stopped short of a mutual agreement, warning Russian forces to remain prepared to, quote, thwart any possible provocations by the enemy, as well as any aggressive actions. There has been no immediate response from Kiev. Ukraine has previously dismissed similar Russian ceasefire announcements as tactical or performative. Whether Kiev chooses to observe or contest this one remains to be seen. Angie De Leon, our global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Meanwhile, Venezuelan acting President Delcy Rodriguez arrived in Grenada on Thursday for her inaugural state visit abroad, marking a pivotal moment in Venezuela's post-Maduro diplomacy and regional integration. More on this from Carla Abellana.
Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez touched down in Grenada on Thursday, receiving full military honors in her first official trip abroad since taking office in January. The visit marks 90 days of her interim presidency, established following the U.S. capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Rodriguez held high-level talks with Prime Minister Deacon Michel at Grenada's parliament to review a strategic cooperation roadmap. Discussions focused on a win-win development model across energy, agriculture, and education, with both leaders seeking to foster regional sovereignty and international balance. Accompanied by Foreign Minister Ivan Gil, Rodriguez is moving to reshape Venezuela's global image and consolidate her leadership as a reliable regional partner. This shift is becoming increasingly palpable as the administration moves to update maritime agreements and expand its cooperation agenda with other Caribbean nations. As her presidency crosses the 3-month mark, this trip to St. George signals the new Caracas administration is ready to engage the world stage independently, stepping out from the shadows of the previous regime. Reporting for Newsline World, Carla Abellana, SMNI News.
Up next, President Miguel Diaz-Canel has blasted the U.S. energy blockade as collective punishment during a UN conference. He warned that while Russian fuel is a lifeline, Cuba's healthcare system remains under severe siege. And Melania Trump has strongly denied any connection to Jeffrey Epstein, labeling recent allegations as false and defamatory. The statement comes as the former First Lady vows to defend her reputation against unfounded claims. More news when Newsline World returns.
panahon ng ingay, sa panahon ng maraming tanong. Panahon na para marinig ang katotohanan.
Sa totoo lang, ano ba talaga ang nangyayari sa ating bansa?
At sa totoo lang, handa ba tayong harapin ang katotohanan?
Sa totoo lang,
Dito walang iwasan,
walang paligoy-ligoy.
diretsong usapan.
Sa totoo lang.
Sa SMNI.
Ikaw ba ay namomroblema sa taas ng electric bill buwan-buwan? Huwag mag-alala, narito ang ilang paraan upang makatipid sa kuryente. Patayin ang mga ilaw at appliances kapag hindi ginagamit. Sa halip ay gumamit ng natural na liwanag upang makatipid sa kuryente. Tanggalin sa saksakan ang mga appliances kung hindi ginagamit. Iwasan ang paggamit ng maraming appliances ng sabay-sabay. Gumamit ng LED bulbs. Ito ay mas tipid sa kuryente kumpara sa mga incandescent at fluorescent bulbs. Regular na linisin ang mga appliances tulad ng electric fan, aircon vents at refrigerator. Magkaroon ng takdang araw sa isang linggo sa pamamalansya at paglalaba. Gumamit ng energy-efficient appliances. Tandaan, maging wais sa paggamit ng kuryente upang makatipid para mas gumaan ang buhay. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Every day begins with a choice: to stay down or to rise and chase the dream. For athletes, success is not built overnight. It is shaped in silence long before the crowd arrives.
When you become an athlete in any sport events like boxing, any kind of gymnastics or any kind of triathlon, ganon. You are a runner, you are a marathoner, you are a boxer, you are an Olympic athlete. There's a lot of restrictions compared to a regular person who is not involved in any kind of kind of sports.
Restrictions are not punishment. They are preparation.
For the athlete, it's nothing. It's their lifestyle. For the regular jando outside looking at you, parang naawa sila eh. Yung pagkain mo, puro healthy. It needs a lot of discipline for an athlete in a competition.
The same is true in the spiritual life. The way is not wide. It is not easy. It is narrow.
So, Jesus Christ also mentioned that in a very vivid statement when he said, the way to life is very narrow and very strict and very small.
89 kilograms, please.
What the world calls restriction, the faithful call obedience.
For us, there is no restrictions. That is so restricted enough that we cannot do it. And when it becomes our lifestyle, it's nothing. It's regular for us. Regular for us to be clean-minded, regular for us to be orderly, regular for us to be straightforward. Obedience, commitment, loyalty, dedication, repented in the sight of the Father.
Because this life is a race.
Are we in this life in a competition? Yes, very much. Because Paul said that also. They that run in a race run all, but one receives the prize.
Not everyone who runs wins. Only those who endure.
In order for you to be in a race, you have to be disciplined. So the Kingdom Nations citizenship is a disciplined citizenship.
Run the race. Choose the narrow way. Live the disciplined life. Because the prize is eternal.
And we're back. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel has condemned the United States energy blockade as a collective punishment, telling a UN conference that while Russian fuel has provided a lifeline, the island's healthcare system remains under severe siege. This report from Prince Tripoli.
President Miguel Diaz-Canel delivered a scathing indictment of Washington's current maximum pressure campaign. At the United Nations, the Cuban president described the blockade, intensified by U.S. President Donald Trump's January executive order, as a systematic violation of human rights designed to force the Cuban people to their knees through artificial scarcity. Diaz-Canel expressed profound gratitude for the arrival of the Russian tanker Anatoly Kolodkin, which delivered 100,000 tons of fuel to Matanzas late last month. He called the shipment as an extraordinary event for a nation that has been largely cut off from its traditional suppliers in Venezuela and Mexico since the capture of Nicolas Maduro in January. However, the Cuban leader emphasized that one shipment cannot undo the structural damage to the island's infrastructure. The human cost is staggering. Over 96,000 Cubans, including 11,000 children, are currently on waiting lists for non-urgent surgeries that have been postponed due to chronic power instability.
Cuba es víctima de un castigo colectivo prolongado que pretende arrodillar a su pueblo por hambre, enfermedades y duras carencias de insumos básicos. Más de 96,000 cubanos, incluidos 11,000 niños, se encuentran a la espera de cirugías, debido a la falta de electricidad y a pesar del esfuerzo de las instituciones de salud en función de encontrar soluciones. Frente al criminal propósito de asfixiar nuestra economía, las 100,000 toneladas de combustible del barco Anatoly Kolodkin se convirtieron en un hecho absolutamente extraordinario que el pueblo cubano celebró de todas las maneras posibles.
His UN address follows a dire warning from the UN resident coordinator, who noted that the Russian fuel supply is only sufficient for roughly 13 days of national demand. With global oil prices remaining volatile due to the conflict in the Middle East, Diaz-Canel called for global solidarity and an end to the energy asphyxiation that continues to paralyze the island's schools, hospitals, and water networks. Reporting from Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNA News.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has arrived in Pyongyang for high-level talks as diplomatic activity intensifies ahead of a postponed U.S.-China summit. The visit signals a potential strategic alignment between China and North Korea, with discussions expected to focus on regional security and cooperation. Analysts say the timing of the trip is significant, coming as Beijing and Washington navigate tensions that have delayed a planned summit between the two global powers. Officials have not disclosed full details of the agenda, but the talks are likely to address developments on the Korean Peninsula and broader geopolitical dynamics in the region. Wang Yi's visit underscores China's active diplomatic engagement as shifting alliances continue to shape the landscape of international relations. Melania Trump has strongly denied any connection to Jeffrey Epstein, calling allegations linking her to the disgraced figure as false and defamatory. Kai Villan for the details.
Melania Trump strongly denies links with Jeffrey Epstein, saying she was never friends and had no relationship with him or his jailed associate, Ghislaine Maxwell.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump.
She acknowledged attending some of the same social events as Epstein, describing it as a result of overlapping social circles in New York and Palm Beach, but stressed she had no knowledge of his criminal activities at the time. Melania also rejected circulating images and claims on social media as completely false, adding that she has never been named in any official documents related to Epstein's crimes.
My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior.
In a separate appeal, the U.S. First Lady called on lawmakers to prioritize the voices of victims, urging U.S. Congress to hold public hearings.
I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth.
The statement comes as renewed attention surrounds Epstein-related documents, with ongoing calls for transparency and accountability in the case. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SM9 News.
When we come back in showbiz, Manon Bannerman will not join Cat's Eye for their highly anticipated Coachella debut. Management confirmed that the singer remains on hiatus, leaving the group to perform as a 5-piece unit. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasok ugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa, ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, saka palalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SM9.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika, at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress, pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan,
magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Pagod? Nanunuyo ang lalamunan? O baka naman nahihirapan kang mag-focus sa ginagawa? Kapartner, baka naman dehydrated ka na. Ang katawan natin ay binubuo ng halos 60% hanggang 70% na tubig. Kung walang sapat na hydration, parang sasakyang walang gasolina ang ating katawan, hindi makakaarangkada. Bakit nga ba mahalaga ang tamang hydration? Hindi lamang ito pamatid uhaw dahil nakatutulong rin ito sa pagdaloy ng sustansya sa katawan, pagpapanatili ng tamang body temperature, at pagpapakinis ng kutis. Kaya't huwag nang hintayin pang mauhaw ka bago uminom. Ang pagkauhaw ay babala na ng iyong katawan na ikaw ay dehydrated na. Ang standard na payo ng mga doktor ay 8 baso ng tubig ang dapat inumin bawat araw. Pero tandaan, depende ito sa iyong timbang, edad at kung gaano ka ka-active. Samantala, narito ang ilang gabay para manatiling hydrated. Simula ng araw sa isang basong tubig. Magbaon ng sariling tumbler para siguradong may maiinom saan man magpunta. At hanggat maaari, piliin ang tubig kaysa mga matatamis na inumin. Kaya mga kapartner, manatiling hydrated para makaiwas sa mas malalang sakit at upang maalagaan ang iyong kalusugan.
Manon Bannerman will not be joining Cat's Eye at their upcoming performance at Coachella as she remains on hiatus. Meanwhile, his song is stepping into a new chapter, launching his solo career under the new name Evan. The latest showbuzz from Faith Agustin.
South Korean company Hybe confirmed that Mano continues to take a break from Cat's Eye to focus on her health and well-being following her initial hiatus that began in February 2026. The announcement comes amid online speculation about her status in the group after fans noticed she had removed Cat's Eye from her Instagram biography. In a message shared on Weverse, Mano reassured supporters, expressing gratitude for their patience and confirming she remains in positive discussions with the group's management. She added that she feels supported and is currently happy and healthy, easing concerns among fans. While Mano sits out the upcoming performance, fans continue to await further updates on her return to group activities. Hee-sung, former member of ENHYPEN, is reintroducing himself to fans with a fresh identity, marking a significant shift from his group activities to a solo path. According to Believed Lab, Evan is described as a versatile vocalist with a trendy, sophisticated tone. The label also highlighted his strong foundation as a performer, noting his seamless vocals and polished stage presence during his time with ENHYPEN. Fans have begun reacting online, expressing excitement and curiosity over the artist's new direction and what his solo sound will bring. With a rebranded name and renewed artistic vision, Evan now embarks on a solo journey, aiming to carve out his own identity in the global music scene. This has been Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
In sports, Gilas Pilipinas Women's 3x3 is building momentum in its Olympic rush after a historic silver medal finish at the FIBA 3x3 Asian Cup in Singapore. Meanwhile, Ollie Watkins scored twice as Aston Villa defeated Bologna 3-1, claiming a commanding lead ahead of the Europa League return leg. Carlo De La Peña for the updates.
The runner-up finish in Singapore has heightened hopes that the Philippines can qualify for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas President Ricky Vargas described the achievement as a proud moment for the country. saying the squad showed not only skill but genuine passion throughout the tournament. SBP Program Director Ryan Gregorio called it a watershed moment for the Federation's 3x3 program, saying the women's team has grown into a legitimate medal contender backed by professional and collegiate partners and sponsors committed to the program's Olympic aspirations. The Filipinas face their next big test this weekend, competing in the FIBA 3x3 World Cup qualifier, also in Singapore. The top 3 teams advanced to the FIBA 3x3 World Cup in Warsaw, Poland this June. The Philippines is drawn in Pool B alongside Brazil and host Singapore, and Hungary, Lithuania, and Egypt also in the hunt. Expected to suit up for the country are Casey De La Rosa, Mika Cacho, April Bernardino, and Cheska Apag, with Reynalyn Ferrer also on the official roster. Meanwhile, Aston Villa take a strong advantage into the second leg after a 3-1 win over Bologna at Stadio Renato Dallara. Bologna controlled early possession but failed to convert, and were punished when a goalkeeping error by Federico Rabaglia allowed Ezri Konsa to open the scoring. Ollie Watkins then doubled the lead early in the second half, finishing coolly after a pass from Emiliano Buendia. Bologna thought they equalized through Santiago Castro earlier in the match, but VAR ruled the goal offside. Substitute Jonathan Rowe pulled one back for the hosts late, but Watkins had a final say, converting from close range after a corner from Yuri Tielemans to steal the win. Villa now hold a 2-goal cushion heading into the return leg. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
Tourists from across China are flocking the Dongchuan Red Land in Kunming, captivated by its striking red terrain and breathtaking natural beauty. Joy Tabanal tells us more.
The scenic area, known for its vivid soil colors and dramatic landscapes, has become a popular destination for travelers seeking unique and less commercialized attractions.
我是来自四川的，很早以前就听说这个云南昆明的东川红土地很漂亮。这次呢，有幸到云南来玩，然后呢就来看一看这个东川这个红土地。看完之后给我太震撼了。我虽然现在还没有看完，看了2个点，但是我觉得是太漂亮了，太震撼了。太有值得看，值得一看。
Visitors say the area offers a rare visual experience with some highlight and distinctive landmarks, such as the so-called sacred tree, decorated with red ornaments.
我是来自辽宁的一名游客，今年头一次来到那个东川这片红色的土地。来了之后，我感觉这个红色的土地太震撼了，特别是这棵神树，让我感觉到在任何这个景区都没有看到过，感觉特别神奇。而且来到这之后，我感觉我也热爱上了这片土地。
Despite its growing popularity, tourists note that the destination remains relatively undeveloped, adding to its natural charm and appeal.
我是来自浙江的游客，然后也是第一次来到这边参观这个景区，之前是没有看到过这样的一个风景的，就是给我最直观的感受就是来这边是完全感受就是大自然的一个鬼斧神工的一个，就是给到你的一个就是给到你的一个感叹吧，就是确实因为它是一个纯天然的，然后相比其他的景区的话，它可能不会那么成熟，但是也就是商业化也不会那么重，所以说其实相对来说还是比较小众的一个景点，但是我觉得很值得来这边看一看吧，然后也很期待今天晚上的落日。
Many visitors are also drawn to the area's sunset views, which are expected to further highlight the vibrant colors of the landscape. As interest continues to grow, Dongchuan Red Land is emerging as a most visited destination for those looking to experience China's diverse natural wonders. This has been Choi Devanao, your global citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. There is an accountability in heaven for everything that we do. That's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Andrea Santos. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.